All right, Nick, how's it going, man? Did you manage to catch the game tonight?
Yeah, I did manage to catch it, and I managed to pull my roommate out of the shower for the last 3 minutes too, so he can catch the end of it, which was a wild ride. Ended up
So,
being disappointing, but hey, I think we take the good with the bad, right?
I mean, yeah, a lot about this game, right? 123, 117, Brooklyn Nets loss to the 76ers of Philadelphia. Embiid did his thing against the Nets, 39 points. He was a monster in this one, 13 rebounds for him. Tobias Harris pretty much killed the Nets, 26 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists. And then Ben Simmons, 17 points and 9 assists for him. Shake Milton had 15 off the bench. This was a pretty close game throughout. I mean, the Nets were a run away in the first half from really keeping this to a 2 or 3 point game. I think at halftime, the score might have been around 8, 7 points at halftime. I know Kyrie had a really cool sequence at the end of the second quarter. The third quarter, obviously, the game gets away from the Nets. Philly just starts going on a run. Everybody starts hitting shots. The Nets can't get a stop on defense. I want to talk a lot about Steve Nash during this, but what did you think of how Nash handled that third quarter where he had a lineup of TLC and Bruce Brown in at the same time?
In the third quarter, you're saying third quarter, not the end of the game, not the last 8 minutes.
No, I want to talk about the third quarter first.
Um, Listen, at the end of the day, this game was kind of hard to judge in terms of coaching and going full throttle and chemistry on the floor. We went into this game benching three of our starters, our two best players, two of arguably the top five best players in the
Well,
league.
who's
I
the
think
third guy we benched?
Aldridge was on rest.
Aldridge and
It's like
KD.
Aldridge, Durant, and Harden
Oh,
were all
okay.
out.
I understand what you're saying. Yeah. Okay. Go on.
My point being, I wasn't super judgmental and critical with the lineups we were going with because I think this is more of an experimental game. This is throwing shit against the wall. I think the fact that we were in the game towards the end was kind of a Christmas Day miracle that everybody jumped around and up and down for. So to answer your question, I didn't think much of it. I felt the game was getting away from us in that second half, and Nash was just throwing a couple different combinations in there to get some young guys and some bench players time.
Let me say something. I'm at the point as a Nets fan, as someone who does a Nets podcast, I want Timothy Luwawu-Cabarrot not only out of the rotation, I want him off the squad. I mean, time and time again in this specific game throughout this year, it looked like the Nets were about to go on a run. They would have a few quick baskets, a few stops on defense, and then TLC would brick a three-pointer on one end and then foul the guy on the other end or get a turnover on the next possession. He is abysmal. He doesn't fit with this team. And if he's not hitting his three-pointer and looking at his numbers, he was 0 of 4 from 3 in this game, 5 points. He was a +3, but that's only because he happened to be with that fourth quarter lineup that went off. If you give his 25 minutes, you take some of those and you give it to Alize Johnson. Nick, Alize Johnson played 12 minutes in this ballgame. Alize Johnson was a +16 in 12 minutes. The man was a +16. Defense on Joel Embiid and Tobias Harris. Hustle plays. He's a lot lengthier than TLC is. He's taller than TLC.
He almost started a fight with Embiid and Simmons.
That was awesome. I tweeted that. I was so amazed that Nash went with TLC playing 26 minutes over Alize Johnson. Well, what are your thoughts on that?
I don't have an explanation. TLC had a couple good games in the bubble. I think we were super hyped on him last year, and come this year, he hasn't shown any sign of earning more time.
Super hyped is a little bit generous. We were.
I don't know. We
surprised.
sang the TLC song. We sang the TLC song.
I guess
no scrubs by TLC. It was hype on a player we had no expectations for. I don't have an explanation. He's put up no numbers this season. We have 10 guys who I'd put on the court before him. Shaman at this point, who's even stepping it up, and now Alize Johnson, both, and Bruce Brown deserve to be on the court 10 times out of 10 over TLC. What I will say is this: I don't know what we're seeing in practice. I don't know if Nash is like, this is my guy who's put in the time and the work, and he will turn this around. I don't know if there's like just faith in TLC behind the scenes. So I can't explain it from what we see on the surface, from what we see on the court. He doesn't deserve the time, but I don't know if there's any other aspects that are going into this or factors that the coaching staff has in mind.
All right, let's look at some bright points in this game. Kyrie Irving, 37 points, 13 to 22 from the field. He hit 1 3-pointer, 9 assists for him. He was great in this game. Oddly enough, Nash did not play him a second in the fourth quarter. In the fourth quarter, the game looked lost, right? The fourth quarter starts. I think we're down 10 or 12. I think we were down 10. I think it was 89-79 entering the fourth. Philly goes on a run to start the fourth quarter, and then boom, it looks like they're off to the races. Then this Nets second unit comprised of Alize Johnson, TLC, Bruce Brown, Nick Claxton, and Landry Shamet. Those are the five guys.
We went on a 21-2 run.
21-2 run. I think at one point we cut the game to 3 points, and Kyrie didn't see the floor. So I understand but Kyrie didn't play yesterday. So I guess that's where I didn't really understand Nash's logic. Kyrie didn't play yesterday.
But who are you gonna? No, I totally understand you don't put Kyrie back on the floor. This game was lost. Okay, this game I think we were down 17 or 19 at its peak. We were toast. They took all of our starters out. They put in these bench guys. You have guys more than others like Bruce Brown who actually gets ample minutes. Then you have guys Shamet who are really never on the court in the fourth quarter. So you have this odd group of guys like you just said, and they go on a 21-2 run against the first place team in the East. That was their run. That chemistry. Who are you going to pull off the court? Are you going to pull off Bruce Brown?
TLC. I will pull off TLC. He hit 1 layup in that stretch. I remember he did not do much.
You don't pull off the team that got you back in the game. You don't pull off the team that has all the momentum. Say, for example, I'm on the court. Say I'm on this court. We just went on a 21-2 run. Maybe I hit 1 shot. Maybe I got 1 steal. But I contributed to the reason that the lowly Nets, with all their bench players in, were back in the game against the number 1 seed 76ers, full throttle with their best players on the court. You don't pull someone out. You don't interrupt momentum. If they won, it would have been a miracle, but you didn't expect them to. So I agree. You don't put Kyrie in for 4 minutes to maybe have like a couple more points and a push when they were most likely going to lose anyway. I think you give it to the guys who earned it.
I would have look, I understand the chemistry argument. I get that. They went on that 21-2 run together. I think you trade out one player, maybe throw in a Joe Harris, maybe throw in a Jeff Green, get into a few other guys on the Nets. Green, aggressive early. He ended up with 15 points, 7 of 14 from the field, 1 of 5 from 3. I was annoyed that Green wasn't really aggressive after that first half, but he's someone that's going to be huge for us down the stretch. Joe Harris, 6 points, 3 of 7 from the field, no 3-pointers in this one for Joe Harris. That was a common theme for the Nets, Nick. The Nets did not shoot the ball well from downtown. 4 of 21 for 19%. They didn't hit a 3-pointer until midway through the second quarter when I think Kyrie hit one.
To me, that's the turning point of the game. There was a point in the third quarter where I believe Jeff Green airballed a 3, Joe Harris bricked a 3 from the left side, and then Shake Milton and Tobias Harris both hit like deep 3s with 2 or 3 seconds left on the shot clock with a guy in their face. That was the turning point of the game. That was the story of the game. Nets shot 19% from 3. Sixers shot 46% from 3. Unbelievable. And they have guys who are hitting deep 3s who don't normally hit them.
Korkmaz.
Korkmaz. There was a turning point in the game where it was a sequence of back and back and back and back. Sixers made all their 3s. We missed our 3 threes. But I will say that's also not the way to get back into a game. When a game is getting away from you and you're hucking up 3s, I think Jeff Green hucked up a deep 3 with 16 seconds left in the shot clock and airballed it when we're going down like 11 or 14 at that point. That one wasn't a smart shot unless it went in. But 2, you can't fight sometimes like someone hot from 3 by trying to force momentum, but trying to force that. You guys weren't on from the start. Go back to the basics and get a bucket.
Well, that's what made their 21-2 run so impressive, right? They went on that run without hitting 3-pointers. Alize Johnson was hitting layups. Shamet hit a few shots. Bruce Brown with a few layups.
And they were all crashing the boards. That was the best part. They were so aggressive that every single one would drive, dish, and crash the boards. They had 2 putbacks when they were cutting that lead. And that was disappointed me most. When they went down 3 and Bruce Brown had the ball and he rushed the shot clock and tried to do an up and under reverse spin layup on Joel Embiid, when you hadn't needed to do that the whole time. You hadn't needed a fancy play to get back in this game. You stuck to the basics. You just fucking fought. And they were power, they were muscle. Alize Johnson backing down Ben Simmons. Nick Claxton going under the hoop and getting an offensive rebound, dishing it back out for a second chance. That was the bread and butter of getting back in this game. So the minute Bruce Brown says, I'm going to be a hero, we made it this far, I'm going to use some sick fancy play, that was their demise.
So I am discouraged but I'm also sort of optimistic about a series with the 76ers. Which one do you want to hear first? Do you want to hear why I'm discouraged or why I'm optimistic?
Well, let's go discouraged, then let's turn this aftermath on a positive note.
Here's why I'm discouraged, and I want to shout out Alex Wilson. He said the Knicks about to cop this dub, though, and the Knicks are up 101-93 against the Pelicans in the fourth quarter with 8 minutes, 26 seconds left. We don't care about the Knicks, though. We're a Nets podcast. Shout out Fireside Nets. Fireside Knicks, shout out to them, too.
I think we beat the Pelicans by triple that. So
we did. Here's why I'm slightly discouraged. The Nets had 15 turnovers tonight, Nick, which is a pretty high number, but it's not the fact that they turned the ball over a lot. It's the way that the Sixers turned them over. What was your favorite defensive move in basketball?
Let them go by you and poke it out from behind.
How many times
I call that the sneak attack.
How many times did you see Ben Simmons pull a sneak attack on Kyrie Irving, on Landry Shamet? It was him. It was Danny Green. It was Joel Embiid. That happened a lot. A lot of the Nets turnovers were caused by great Philly defense. I think the Nets, out of the 15, maybe one or two might have been self-inflicted, but you saw Ben Simmons intercepting a few passes. So that is the only thing that I was discouraged about. That Philly defense, without a Dwight Howard, they're for real. They can defend. Ben Simmons is no joke. He is Defensive Player of the Year nominee. Danny Green, Joel Embiid, Tobias Harris, those guys can defend. Now, I mean, any thoughts on that before I get to the optimistic stuff?
No, I mean, yeah, like you said, Sixers are a great defensive team. Simmons has long-ass arms. He's an unbelievably sized guard. So it was a couple bad plays. There's also a couple young guys like Alizé and Nick Claxton, who were like,
but even with our starters, though, man. I mean, Joe Harris did nothing. Kyrie had 37, but outside of Kyrie, who else was able to score?
But my point is, yes, we got the ball taken from us. We made a lot of stupid mistakes down the stretch. There's literally a play where TLC faked out Alizé Johnson, where TLC literally juked 3 times.
I saw that.
And Johnson threw it that way. And then Johnson literally turned to him and goes, "What the fuck?" But no, it was a bad turnover game. That's been a problem all year. I totally agree.
I do want to shout out DeAndre Jordan. DeAndre Jordan got the start tonight, no LMA, so him and Claxton. I mean, he played 26 minutes to Claxton's 22, which is a little bit surprising, but DJ looked pretty good. I mean, 12 and 14 in this one, 14 rebounds. He was 6 of 7 from the field. A few really nice alley-oops from Kyrie to DeAndre Jordan. I was pleased with his minutes. As Nash said, he's got to stay ready. You never know when we're going to call upon him. And for the most part, he didn't play horrible defense on Embiid. I think he got faked out with a pump fake early, and Embiid hit a few threes. Embiid ended up with 3 threes in this game, which is pretty good for your center. But I was pleased with the effort that DJ gave tonight.
No, I agree. Honestly, what I like about DJ is he's not a mental midget. There's no hard feelings. There's no bitterness. He comes out and he's literally good he's like, listen, I haven't played in the last few games. My time is diminishing. You need me to step up and I'm going to give this all I got. He has no ego, which is what I respect about DJ. The one mistake he made was when the Sixers were building momentum and he just threw it to the other team. I think literally there were like 2 nets in front of him and he tried to do like a soccer pass to half court and he was either Simmons or Clark Knox or Curry just jumped in and took the ball. And then they scored on that play and we had to call timeout. So, yes, it's always great to see DJ coming out and giving it all he's got. But at the end of the day, he makes a lot of little stupid mistakes that hurt us in the long run.
I'm going to move on to my optimistic takes in 2 seconds. But the funniest thing, Alizé Johnson, I mentioned, was a plus 16 before. TLC was a plus 3. Those are the only Nets that were plus minus in this game, or they were a plus in this game. Everybody else was minus. Bruce Brown had 14 points. He was a minus 4. And Landry Shamet was a plus 0. But I always find that interesting. Anyway, here's why I'm optimistic, Nick. No Kevin Durant. No James Harden. No Blake Griffin. No LaMarcus Aldridge. Chris Chioza. Shout out to Chioza. He just had surgery on his broken hand, so he's going to be out a few weeks. Our bench came in and really played hard. We fought. We took Philly's best and came back, and we made it a 3-point game down the stretch. So the narrative that I've been seeing on Twitter, which I think is really funny, is every single Nets fan is going, oh, so we can make it a close game with Alizé Johnson, Landry Shamet, TLC, Nick Claxton, and Bruce Brown. Yeah, we're going to sweep you guys in a playoff series. Like, we're going to get back all our superstars plus a few of our role guys. You guys are finished. Done. Imagine if Dinwiddie somehow gets healthy for that Eastern Conference Finals. Like, I mean, it's funny. The Sixers lead the series against the Nets 2-1. They are now, what, 2 games ahead in the standings, Nick?
Just one. It was tied.
Just one?
So just one. But they own the tiebreaker.
They own the tiebreaker 2-1. But I don't think they feel good at all heading into the playoffs in 17 games, having to face us eventually, as long as the Nets do their work. I took that away from this game. Our bench unit faced Philly's best. Well, that's not necessarily true, because in the fourth quarter, it was Philly's bench unit too. Doc had to put them in, but he put them in, and Alize Johnson still went to work. Our unit still did their job. So very optimistic that we played this team hard. I mean, this was one of those losses where they're rare and few in between, but you look at it and you say, okay, no KD, no James, no Blake Griffin, no LaMarcus Aldridge. I'll live with this result.
I agree. I mean, for me too, the best part was, one, these guys are hungry. They want it. These guys did not give up. They knew they were going in there to kill minutes, and instead they brought them back in the game. And two, you love seeing KD, Kyrie, and Blake Griffin standing up at the end of the game, cheering these dudes on. This is a team. Everybody wants to win. There's no hierarchy. Yes, is there higher levels of talent? Yes, is there players who are going to get more time and be a more focal point of the team? Absolutely. But this isn't like a you guys go in there and just waste time mentality. Is we are putting you in and taking out some of our players to rest them, keep them healthy, but now go in and compete. You're in the NBA. Alize Johnson just got his first NBA contract. He wants it. I mean, probably more than anybody else on the court wanted it was Alize Johnson. I saw more fight in Alize Johnson, in Bruce Brown, and in Nick Claxton than I did in Simmons and Embiid. Honestly, towards the end there, it just looked like Embiid was like, give me the ball. Let me just end this. I'm fucking tired. I want to go home and take a nap. But our guys wanted it more. Embiid was able to put the team on his back. We made some stupid mistakes down the stretch. Embiid hit his free throws. But no, this super promising sign, and more so just love the energy and the hype. And at the end of the game, we lost that game. KD, Kyrie, and Blake were standing up and clapping for the effort that these guys put in.
Yeah, I mean, we our first game. By the way, before we end it, I want to get to some of the quotes that are coming out now. I'm on Nets Twitter. I'm getting some updates. But before I get to that, just real fast, you said it. The energy was there, and in that first loss against the Sixers, basically the same thing that happened in this third quarter happened in that third quarter. Philly went on a run, and the game was over. We did not make a game of it in that fourth quarter. In this game, same thing happens in the third. Philly goes on a run. What did the Nets do? They still fought. They still gave energy. And as Gene Hackman in The Replacement says, they had a lot of heart. So speaking of heart.
Miles of heart.
Miles and miles of heart. Speaking of heart, Alize Johnson post-game was interviewed, and he said, there's still work to be done. I feel like we should have won that, if you ask me. And in regards to being part of the late comeback, he said, just being out there in a moment like that with them, I loved it, man.
That's beautiful. I mean, what I will say is they challenged a foul on Alize where I think he headbutted Embiid to the ground. So, yeah, I mean, could have gone either way. Maybe I think him and Bruce Brown got too aggressive at the end. I think they had,
but
they had so much energy.
You have to play that way, man. When you're down 5 or 6, you have to do that.
No, here's the one thing they fucked up on. Okay, there was a minute and a half left in the game, and they were down 3. And Bruce Brown got a foul 10 feet behind the three-pointer, pressing up against Simmons.
Yep.
When you're down 3, you are basically saying to the 76ers lineup, all the pressure is on you. Your starting lineup, the number 1 team in the East, against the Nets backup players, hit a shot, I dare you. You got to put the ball in their court. Literally, you have to let them take a shot. You got to let them mess up. You can't give Simmons free throws, even if he's a 62% free throw shooter. So that's the one thing where I think the game was kind of sealed. A minute and a half in the game, up 3. All we needed was the Sixers to miss a shot, challenge them to take a lower percentage shot, and we bailed them out early in the shot clock by Bruce Brown just getting a little too over-eager. And I love the aggression. I love the hunger. I love the defense, but got too close, and that to me is a stupid play.
By the way, Steve Nash agreed with you on not putting in Kyrie Irving late. Steve Nash said he thought a little bit about putting Kyrie Irving in late in the game. He didn't want to take out the reserves after playing so well and wanted to reward them.
There you go, dude. Effort's rewarded. We live in an honor system. You guys earned to get back in this game. We're not going to take you out. I mean, you talk about the movie The Replacements. They almost put Eddie Martell back in that first play in the last game against Dallas to make the playoffs, and they didn't. They took him in, and Gene Hackman realized he made a huge mistake, and that's why he went on the speech where he said miles and miles of heart. because he made the mistake of bringing back Eddie Martell, his starter, putting him in. He was shit with these new guys. It did not work, and he took him out. Granted, it's a stretch of an analogy because comparison, because Kyrie's the man and he would mesh with these guys. But you pull Martell for Falco, you keep Kyrie on the bench when TLC Bruce Brown, Claxton, Ali Alizé, and Shannon earn it.
Thanks for breaking down the replacements for me. I've only seen it 900 times.
Sick movie, highly recommend.
4/16. That's in 2 days. That's on Friday. The Nets host the Charlotte Hornets. Hopefully, KD, Blake Griffin, and LaMarcus Aldridge should all be back for that game. Definitely KD, I would think. We bounce back and annihilate the Hornets, right?
100%. Sorry, Jordan.
All right. Thanks for listening to the post-game recap with Fireside Nets. I'm Spen Harris. He's Nick. Tune in to our podcast Tuesday mornings. We release a podcast every week. And check out more of our live streams as we near the end of the season for the Brooklyn Nets.
And we don't do our ending. You got to earn that ending. Our special ending on the podcast you got to listen to. We don't do that on the live stream.
Oh, hells yeah, Nichols.
All right. Be safe. Go Nets.
Later.